Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, powered by Modelo, exclusively on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. With R.A. Timken, I'm James Westlane. We're excited to welcome in the head women's basketball coach at Oklahoma State, Jacie Hoyt. Coach, how are you? How's the fam? How's the off season?
Oh, I'm so happy to be here and see you guys. I'm great. I am coming off of our shutdown that we get where the rules don't allow us to recruit or any of that stuff. So I'm feeling really refreshed. Got some really good time with my family, and Harlow got to spend a lot of time with her cousins and grandparents and all that good stuff. So I'm doing really great.
Yeah, I mean, how do you balance the incredible day-to-day grind of coaching at high-level D1 basketball with being a mother?
I don't know that balance is the right word because it's definitely not equal. But I think, for me, the greatest thing that I had growing up was a mother who figured it out and kind of I got to watch her, marry the job with being a mom. And she just showed me the ropes on that. So, I'm really grateful to work at a place that lets me do that. And, Harlow travels with us everywhere. I think she's only missed like 2 games in her 1.5 years of life. So it's great. It's amazing. I remember playing out in the NCAA tournament this year, and the players were all getting off the bus, and nerves were high, rightfully so, right? It's a tournament game. And Harlow was at the front giving everyone a high five as they got off the bus. And I could just kind of see the shoulders drop a little bit with our players. And I was like, this is what it's all about. I just have the best of both worlds right now. So, I think you just got to figure out how to blend the two.
All right, Coach. When you sign the best transfer portal class in the country, we have to catch up. So break down, how did it happen, and what's this team look like this year?
Well, I can't say that I wanted it to happen the way that it did when this all started, because we just had one player on our roster that stayed. And shout out to Staley Hurd. She is as good of a player as you would want to build a roster around. And has just been so incredibly loyal to me and to Oklahoma State. To be able to build it around someone who's an all-conference player, I mean, that's not the worst thing in the world. And then it gave us a clean slate, to be honest. And, we had a lot of openings that we could look and say, okay, how do we want this to look? And what does it need to look like? How do we want to build this up? And my staff nailed it, right? I mean, it was about 2.5 weeks of intense grinding of being on the phone and scheduling visits and just nonstop, recruiting, because there's so much involved now. You're not just talking to the recruit, of course, you're talking to their family and to the agents and all that stuff that we deal with now. But, I think a lot of it was really neat for me because several of the kids that we got, I had actually previously recruited at UMKC at my very first head coaching job. So, one of the first kids that we got, Ellie Brueggemann, for example, she's an elite shooter, was one of the best shooters in the portal. I had text messages with her from way back when she was a junior in high school that I had never deleted. And so we got to laugh, just about that relationship that we had back then. And then, just got some really big ones. Obviously, Audie, staying in the Big 12. We're really excited about that because she's on our team now. But even for Audie, we had offered her the first time around out of high school. And so we laughed because we found on Twitter where she posted, her offer from us.
Wow.
So a lot of the signees that we got, they were actually from previous relationships that we were just able to, end in the right way, even though they didn't come play for me. And then we just had some kids, I have to talk about Liv McGill, who I'm so excited about, right? Like arguably one of the most exciting players in the country. She just wanted to pave her own path and said, Coach, I want to be a trendsetter. I don't want to go to all these, schools and visits that I think everyone thinks I'm going to. I want to pave my own way. I want to do it different. And I believe in you and the vision that you guys have painted for me. So let's do this. There was just so many cool moments, like literally, I just go from like not having a roster to having a dream roster. And I mean, like the most emotional, awesome moments with shared with each of those kids and each of those commitments. And I'm so excited for them to get here and get started now.
Yeah, well said. So, how do you bring this group together? This is a unique situation from the standpoint of it's a brand new roster with a lot of talent. So what's your approach to building that chemistry, something you've obviously been very good at your time as a coach?
Well, I think I have gotten good at it, and I'm saying that humbly. When I first got hired here, I inherited a roster that had 4 players on it. So I had to do the same thing. I had to go to the portal. And then the way that we were able to build it that year, which was an amazing year because we, had one of the biggest turnarounds in the country and go to the NCAA tournament in year 1. All those kids were grads. They were all grad transfers. So then I had to do it again. So it's not really that I chose to, have to be in these situations and go to the portal all the time. But I think the fact that I had to do it so early in my career, I've gotten to be pretty good at it and kind of understand how to navigate it. And then comes the work, right? When you get the team.
Yeah.
My case now, it's like, okay, now I've got to, blend all of this together, start working on the chemistry and all those things. But I think it really starts with the kids that you get. And the first thing I'll say is that all of our team came here for a very specific reason. They all want to be a part of what we have to offer. And I think that's a great start. You don't have a bunch of players with, egos and different backgrounds that are like trying to look out for themselves. It's very, very team oriented already. Because they're very hungry to get to the tournament or go further in the tournament. And we're having those conversations already, and I think that when you have that vision, then it becomes very clear what you need to do to get there. And for us, a lot of that is going to be on the court, of course, just, getting them familiar with each other's game. But just spending time off the court and being really intentional about that. I think that's one thing that my staff and I have done a good job of, is just be really purposeful and intentional in building the relationships off the floor, whether that's, just one-on-one relationships or putting them in team settings and having real, honest and raw conversations about things.
Talking with Oklahoma State women's basketball coach Jacie Hoyt here on Big 12 Radio and Big 12 Studios. Oklahoma State has one of the top portal classes in the country. Coach, you mentioned Audie Crooks, the Iowa State post player. Like when I think about Oklahoma State basketball, take and make a ton of threes, very up-tempo, high scoring, and now you have maybe the most dominant post scorer in all of college basketball. So how do you blend those two things together, and how does she fit?
Well, I think that a player like Audie in the post, they dream about being surrounded by shooters, right? Because then you can't have the double teams and the specialized defenses and those things. And then on the flip side, shooters love having, a post presence that people can't, cheat off on them. So I think it's really actually not that hard. I think a lot of people, maybe question that with the style that we play, but I think it's the perfect match. And I think, for Audie, to be honest, she wants to grow. She wants to be in a system that is going to challenge her to, play at a faster pace, come out of the paint a little bit more, because she does want to play at the next level. And she's been very, very clear about that. And I'm really grateful that she's entrusted us to help her get there. But I think that she was looking for a little bit of a different style, be involved a little bit more in ball screens, which we do a ton of. That's kind of our bread and butter in the half court. So I think that there's a lot of things that just make it a perfect match for both her and our guards. We're not going to change the way that we play fast and shoot threes. There's no changing that. And Audie's excited to grow and be in a new system.
Talking with Jacie Hoyt here, who's entering year 5 at Oklahoma State, has made the tournament 3 out of 4 years, and she mentioned the turnaround between a 9-20 season, 3-15 in the Big 12, to 21-12 and 10-8. Just a remarkable turnaround year over year. And look, this past year you got to the second round, but first round exits in the previous two. How do you get over the hump? How do you get to that second weekend? And is this the type of roster talent that you need to get to that second weekend?
I believe that it is. I think that it really does just boil down to talent. There's definitely a ceiling. When you get to that tournament and you're playing against the best of the best, it just is what it is. You've got to have the talent. You have to have the players who can get you over the hump. And I believe that we've done that. I think really, depth is really important. I think that the best teams, they have a bench that they can go to playing later in the season. And, I know we're talking about the Audis and the Livs of the world, but my goodness, we have so many incredible pieces around them. And the depth is by far the most that I've ever had in my career. So I really believe that that's going to translate into us playing deeper into March.
Awesome stuff. Coach, we will see you at spring meetings here in a few weeks. We appreciate your time. Congrats on all the off-season success, and we'll catch up soon.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Take care.
Jacie Hoyt, Oklahoma State women's basketball coach, joining us here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. Coming up next, we sit down with Brent Schroedenboer. Brent Schroedenboer.
Maybe.
From USA Today.
Maybe it's Boyer. Well, I guess we'll find out.
He's all over the Big 12 private capital deal with Redbird, so details on that around the corner. He's Ari, I'm James. This is Big 12 Radio.